Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a wonderful, wonderful afternoon here in Johannesburg, and welcome to our live recording. It's a great day today for two reasons. Number one, today's the day the Natal Sharks are going to absolutely crush Western Province. And number two, the other reason it's a great day is we're here doing mathematical literacy, and what could be better? Now, I know the government schools wrote paper 1 yesterday, and I trust it was a nice paper, and I trust you all enjoyed it. And then I know that on Monday, you're writing your paper 2. So we thought we would do a bit of work on paper 2. Now, before we actually start, can I encourage you to call us on 0861 058262, or you can email us on info@learnextra.co.za. Now, if you have a question, you have a problem, you've been doing some learning, some revising, and there's just something you don't understand, give us a call and we'll try everything in our power to answer your questions. All right, having said that, let's start by looking at November 2009 paper. That's last year's paper 2. We are going to concentrate on paper 2 today, so let's have a look at it. So last year, we looked at our paper, and our very first question, question 1, stated the following. During 2007, Statistics South Africa surveyed a sample of households in each province in order to determine cell phone and computer usage. The table below shows the results of the survey. Now, I want to stress here, first of all, that there was a sample of households. They didn't go ahead and go to every single house in the country, okay? Now, that's important to know, because otherwise we still wouldn't have the information. They'd still be knocking on every single door. So Statistics South Africa sample a few houses, and let's have a look at their results. If you look here, they realize that the cell phone usage in the Eastern Cape, 61.2% of the households that they sampled, and there were 1,586,739 households that got a little knock on the door, okay? 61.2% of those people said, yep, we have a cell phone. And only 7.5% of those households said, yeah, we got a computer and we use it. Okay? Now, carry on looking at all our information. So what has happened here is the examiner has given us a summary of all the results of those households. So Gauteng, for example, 80.3% of 3,175,578 households said, yes, we have a cell phone. And only 24.2% of them said, we have a computer. If we look at KwaZulu-Natal, 71.9% of the households said, yep, we have a cell phone. Now, that's quite sad, really, because that means that close on 22.1% of people, or 28.1% of people, can't actually SMS their friends today to celebrate the winning of the Natal Sharks. And that's really tragic. But let's have a look at the question, because we're going to digress with rugby if we're not careful. So, use table 1 to answer the following questions. Round off your answers to the nearest unit. Please take note, nearest unit. That means we're not going to have a comma something. It's going to be the nearest unit. Identify the two provinces. Question 1. Identify the two provinces that show the greatest percentage difference in their computer usage, and then calculate this difference. What are they actually asking us? Aren't they asking us about the range? I think they are. Because they're saying, what was the highest, what was the lowest, and what's the difference? Well, that's basically saying, hey, what's the range? So let's look at our table. So we're saying, okay, we're looking at computer usage. So this is the table we're looking at over here. And straight away, we see the highest percentage. Now, please take note, they are asking percentage. They're not asking figures. So the highest percentage is this percentage over here. 30.1, which is our Western Cape. So we are going to say, right, our range is 30.1 minus, and now we've got to look for our lowest. Okay, and as we look, we'll see, oh, here's a 7,5, but here's a 6,1, 9,1, so, sorry, 6,7. So 6,7 is our lowest figure. So we've got a high of 30,1, a low of 6,7. Let's find the difference. And that difference is called our range. So minus 6,7. Okay. Western Cape, 30,1. Limpopo, 6,7. Subtract the 2, and we're actually going to land up then with 23,4%. So that is our difference between our different computer usages. Okay. Question 1.12. Take note, it's only 3 marks. We realized there was a bit of work involved, but there's not so much work. So we weren't expecting to spend 10 minutes on this question. All we had to identify our highest, our lowest, and then understand to subtract the 2. Question 1.12. Calculate the actual number of households in Northwest, there we go, there's Northwest, okay, that did not use a computer. Now, if we look at Northwest, we will realize here that 9,1% of our households use the computer. But that's not the question. The question says how many did not use it. A little trick there from our examiner, but because we've done so much revision, we're not going to fall for that. So the first thing we're going to say is this. Okay, so if 9,1% of our users did use a computer, how many did not use as a percentage? Well, we know that a percentage means out of 100. So if the total's 100%, 9,1% did not use a computer, then the amount that don't use a computer is going to be 100 minus our 9,1%, which is going to give us 90,9%. So 90,9% of the people in that specific province don't have a computer or don't use a computer. But we want to know not the percentage, but the actual number of households. So we've got to now say, well, in our actual household, we have 911,118 households, of which 90,9% don't use a computer. So we're going to say, right, let's take the 90,9%. Now, how do we write 90,9%? We know percent is always over 100. So 90,9 is going to be 90.9 over 100 multiplied by our population. Now, what was our population? 911,118. So we're going to say we want 90,9% of 911,118. Okay? Then we slap those figures into our computer, and we should come up with an answer of 828,206. Okay? 828,206 people or households of our sample do not use a computer. Okay? Now, I want to stress something very carefully here. I have the privilege and the honor of being able to mark some of the matric papers at the end of every year. And what really, really frustrates me more than anything is when somebody is able to show exactly what they're doing. They know how to do it. They know how to find the answer. And then they take out their little gray box, this little thing called a calculator, and they don't know how to use it properly. Folk, when you're sitting at home and you're practicing your calculations, don't just look and say, okay, yeah, that's how one does it. I know how to do it. Right, next question. Say, no. Let me make sure I know how to do that on the calculator. I know the theory. Can I do it? And then sit there, push a few buttons, and make sure you know how to get those answers. Right, let's have a look at our next question. Our very next question says this: calculate the difference between the number of cell phone and computer users in the Northern Cape. So we want to know the difference between the number of cell phone and computer users in the Northern Cape. So let's have a look. We're looking here at the Northern Cape, right? And we know we've got 61.8% who use our cell phone and 13.2% who use computer. We want to know what is that difference. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say, right, 61.8% use a cell phone to tell all their friends how well Natal Sharks are doing. And only 13.2% use computers. So the difference is 48.6%. But that's 48.6% of what? Of a population, of a sample that was taken. And if we look at that sample, we will see that the sample was actually, let's just get rid of some of this, was actually 264,654. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say, right, we want to know what is 48% or 48.6% of that sample, 264,654. And then we again going to put it all in our calculator, okay? And we're going to land up then with an answer of 128,621.8 households. Now, folk, look at me carefully now. It is impossible to get 0.8 of a household. You either live in a house, whether it's big, whether it's small, but you live in a house. So you can't say to your buddy, I'm going home to my half a house. Okay? I live in a house. So when I get an answer of 0.8 of a house, folk, no, the examiner wants to make sure you understand that you can't get 0.8 of a house. So we are going to say, right, let's change this answer then to 128,620. That 8 is close to what? 1 or 2? Close to the 2. So we've got 128,622 what? Actual number of households, the difference between cell phone users and computer users in the Northern Cape. Right, we haven't finished this question yet. We're going to come back shortly. We need to take a bit of a break though. So you go, get yourself a cup of coffee, maybe switch over, see how well the Natal Sharks are doing, but come back and we'll see you just now. Well, welcome back. If you've just joined us, we're here live in Johannesburg doing a bit of mathematical literacy. Fantastic subject, much better than your maths because there's no X and Y's. It's real stuff. It's what life is all about. And we decided to start our whole session off by going through a question or two from your 2009 paper. So we were busy looking, and let me just put the question in context. We looked at a question where Statistics South Africa went and knocked on a few doors, say to a few folk, hey, do you have a cell phone? That's great. Do you have a computer? You don't? Okay, thanks. And they made a whole lot of information and put all the information together and then put their information into a table form. And this was the table form that they eventually came up with. So they looked at all the provinces, the percentage of the number of households that use cell phone, the percentage of the number of households that use computers, and then they actually told us the number of households that they visited. And one thing we did stress before the break was they didn't knock on every single door in South Africa, they only took a sample. Okay. Now, we had got to question number 1.14, and the question states this. If the mean average number of households surveyed per province was 1,388,957, then calculate the actual number of households surveyed in Mpumalanga. Now, let's have a look at our table again. I want to point something out to you. We have a bit of a problem with this table. There is something missing here. We know that in the Eastern Cape, 1,586,739 households were surveyed. In the Free State, 802,872 households were surveyed, etc., etc. But when it comes to Mpumalanga, we've actually lost a bit of the information. Okay? Now, Statistics South Africa put everything together, but the person who put this table together was a little, well, wasn't doing his job properly and lost a figure. However, before he lost the figure, he had worked out that the average number of households that were visited per province was a staggering 1,300,000 and, let's get that figure here, 1,388,957. Okay, so what do we have here? They're actually asking us, they're giving us the mean. Now, normally what would have happened in your paper one was you would have been given a whole lot of figures and being told, calculate the mean. What they're doing now in paper two is they're giving you that mean. They're giving you figures and they've left one out. And they're asking you to find that one figure. Fantastic paper two question. Let's see how we're going to do it. Now, the first thing we know is this, that the mean, and let's write that down here. The mean is going to equal the total number of households over the number of provinces. Okay? So let's put in all the information we know. Again, the mean, we were told that mean was a figure of 1,388,957. What are our totals? Let's have a look. The first one, 1,586,000. So we go and we say, let's add up all these figures and see what we get. So we're going to say, right, I have 1,586,739 plus I've also got 802,872 plus, and I'm not going to do this, you're going to sit here, you can do it, otherwise we're going to be here on TV all day. But you're going to write down all those figures except when you come to this missing one. And the missing one we know is Mpumalanga. So let's write that down. Plus M, plus all the other figures. And we're going to divide that by the total number of provinces. And we know there are 9 provinces, and our table should show that as well. Otherwise, someone in Statistics South Africa is really messed up. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Indeed. So we've got 9 provinces. Dividing it by 9. Now, just to try and make it look a little bit neater, what we're going to say here is this. Of the 1,300,000, and what I'm going to do is just try and find another page quickly. Of the 1,388,957, that was our mean. When we've added up all those other provinces, we've got 11,560,207. Where did I get that figure from? I added up all these other figures over here. But plus Mpumalanga. Divide that by 9. Okay. What's my next step? Well, if we look back again at our board, you will see that I am trying to solve for my M. So I've got to manipulate this whole formula until I've got M just by itself. The first thing that's going to go across, I'm dividing by 9. When I take it across, I'm going to multiply by 9. So I'm going to say, in order to get rid of this 9, I'd have to multiply that side by 9. So I'm going to multiply this side by 9. So we take our 1,388,957. We multiply it by 9, and we're going to get a staggering figure of 12,500,613. And that is equal to our 11,560,207 plus Mpumalanga. I want the province by itself. So what am I going to do next? Well, to get that M by itself, we're going to have to get rid of this 11,560,000. How do I get rid of it? I take it that side and subtract. So I've got my 12,500,613 minus the 11,560,207. And when you do that on your calculator, you're going to land up with an answer of 940,406. And that is equal to M. So what was the question? The question was, how many households were surveyed? Well, we have the answer for you, sir. 940,406 households were actually surveyed. So you can pick up your cell phone, phone Statistics South Africa, give them that information, and they'll be very thrilled that they now have all their records in place. Okay, next question. Let's have a look. Another question that comes up, and you'll find quite a few of these kind of questions will come up in paper 2, is when they ask your opinion, or they say, what do you think? How do you feel this should happen, or why do you think that should happen? Now, folks, when they ask you that kind of question, it's a lovely question, because sometimes not every person's going to give the exact same answer. You've got to interpret the information given to you and tell the examiner how you interpret it, okay? And you know what? If you're giving facts in your answer, or if you're giving realistic answers, They got to give you the marks. Got to give it. You can't be denied those marks at all. So let's have a look at this question. Identify possible relationships or trends, if any, between the cell phone and the computer usage of households in South Africa. So what they're actually now saying to you is this. Okay, let's look at the cell phone usage and computer usage and see if there's any relationship. Well, I've looked at this quite carefully, and I must admit there's no direct relationship that sticks out instantly. What one could say is, first of all, you will notice that as there's a higher percentage of cell phone usage, for example, if you look at Gauteng, 80.3%, the computer usage is also pretty high, 24.2%. If you look at Eastern Cape, a low cell phone usage, there's also a low computer usage. So maybe one could say, you know what, when there's a high cell phone usage, the computer usage is pretty high as well in comparison to the other provinces. So maybe there's a bit of a relationship with that. If you look at the relationship between the cell phone usage and the number of households that were questioned, well, there's not really a direct relationship at all. So in simple terms, when our cell phone usage is pretty high, so is our computer usage. That's about the only relationship I could pick up out of those altogether. Okay, now let's have a look at the next question. Following on from that, question 1.2. The following table lists the monthly sales of two types of cell phone models, P500 and the Q600, at a cell phone shop over a period of 5 months during 2007. So, 2007, they picked up 5 months, April, May, June, July, and August, and they said that P500 in April we sold 980, and in August we sold 1,520. Okay? Q600, again, our figures for every single month. Now, question 1.21. Which cell phone model showed the greatest increase in sales during this period? Now, we're wanting to know which has got the greatest increase. In other words, what are we at in the month of August? And what were we at in the month of April? And what's the difference between those two figures? And that's what we're going to look at. So if we look at our P500, we're going to say, well, in August we sold 1,520 cell phones. In April, a mere sad 980. If we subtract those two, so we're going to say, right, let's subtract the two of them quickly. We are going to say, we're talking about our P500. We started with 1,520, and then we went down. We sold in August 1,520, April a mere 980. So minus the 980, and the P500 had a difference of 540. Okay. If we look at our Q600, we will say, well, with our Q600, we started in April selling 600, and in August 1,500. So 1,500 minus the 600 in April works out, 900. We've sold 900 more per month of the Q600 than the P500, which only sold a difference of 540. So the question now states this. Show all your calculations, which we've shown, but the real question is which cell phone model showed the greatest increase? Okay, so the greatest increase is our Q600. So folk, we've got to answer the question. Q600 is the greatest increase. Again, as examiner, or rather as someone who marks papers, folk, it's so frustrating when people show the working but they haven't answered the actual question. And if you look at this question, it was actually out of 3 marks. So what's going to happen? I'm going to get a mark over here, a mark over there, and then a mark for coming to my conclusion. if I forget that conclusion, if I forget to tell the examiner, you know what, Q600 had the greatest increase, I'm only going to get 2 out of 3. In fact, as I always say to my students, I'm only going to get 66.7% for that question compared to being able to get 100% for that question. Okay, don't forget, read the question and answer what the examiner is asking you for. Well, it's time for another break, so time to get up, get a cup of coffee or tea or Coke or whatever the case may be, check what their rugby score is, but you come back within the next 2 minutes, all right? We'll chat later. Cheerio.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manze. I'll be doing Maths Lit Paper 2 with you. Please call us on 0861 058 262. We are responding to your questions. We are taking your questions and we'll be responding to them soon. What I'll be doing right now, I'll be doing March 2009 Paper 2 question, and I'll be starting with Paper 2, and it says, Annabella started working for a construction company on 3 July 2007. She earned a net income of 144,000 per annum without any bonus. She set aside 8,400 per month for her monthly expenses, and each month set 90% of the balance towards a deposit of a car. So here we have been given a scenario where Annabelle started working for a construction company on the 3rd of July. Now we'll be going down to the first question. It says, calculate Annabelle's net monthly salary. If you look up there, what are we being given? We are being given Annabella's yearly salary, meaning on yearly basis, this is the amount that she gets. So we want to know on monthly basis, how much does she get? So we'll go and say, Annabelle is getting 144,000 Rand per annum. So we want to know per month, how much is she going to get? So we know that in a year, we've got 12 months. So what we are simply going to do, we are going to say this whole amount, we are going to divide it by 12. Why do we divide it by 12? We divide it by 12 because we want to know how much will she earn on monthly basis. Then I think this one is very simple for us. You simply go to your calculator, 144,000 divided by 12 equal to. Then you get your answer as 12,000. Please remember, we are talking about money. You don't just write 12,000, but you write 12,000 Rand per month. So this is the amount, the money that she will be getting on monthly basis. That's it. You have answered question 2.1.1. Now we go to 2.1.2. It says, how much did Annabelle save towards the deposit for a car each month? You go back to the question provided. They say to you, she set aside 8,400 per month for her monthly expenses. This is very crucial. Monthly expenses. And each month set 90%. So it simply means Annabelle gets a salary, which is 12,000 Rand. Then from that salary, she takes out 8,400 Rand. So let's do it. The question says, how much does he save towards the deposit of a car? So we'll be saying 2.1.2, we go back, Annabella gets 12,000 Rand per month. From this amount that she gets, because she's very ambitious, she wants to see herself one day having a car, she then spends first 8,400. What does that mean? It simply means from this amount she spends, so the minute you spend, we subtract 8,400 Rand. You go to your calculator, you say 12,000 minus 8,400 Rand equals to 3,600 Rand. But then, this is not the amount that she spent, she saved for the car. They say from this amount, Annabella saved towards, from the information that we're giving, they say it's 90% of the balance. So it means she gets her salary, she takes out 8,400 Rand, she's left with the amount that we have calculated, which is 3,600. What she then does, she said, okay, from this amount, which is my balance, I'm going to spend 90% of this amount. So we already know 90% simply means 90 over 100 times 3,600. So we want to know the amount that she saves for the car. So you simply come here and say, you can either say 90, and sorry about that, 90, then you go to shift, then this is a percent of 3,600 Rand. Then you get your answer. So it means from the amount that she gets, she then takes 3,240. She set it aside for what now? for the car. So this means on monthly basis, she'll be putting this money aside for the car. So you've answered that question 2.1.2. Let's look at the next question. It says, Annabelle was advised to invest some of her monthly savings in a special monthly savings account that pays more interest. She thus invested 3,000 Rand of her monthly savings each month in this account. This special savings account paid an interest rate of 10.8% per annum. This is very crucial, per annum. But then how per annum? Compounded monthly. So this is the amount that she invests, and this is the interest rate per annum, but this interest rate is being compounded monthly. This information is very crucial. Do not ignore it. So what you'll do is, it says, use the formula. We are lucky, we have been given the formula. So what we simply do is, we use the formula to calculate the amount she will have for her deposit if she saves monthly for 11 months. Now, another crucial information, we are given 11 months. We've got F, we have all the information in front of us, so we'll be going straight using the formula. What I would advise you is, if you are given the formula, even if you are being given that formula, please do not, when you try to answer, ignore that formula. You'll rewrite that formula and say, the formula that I'm going to use is this one. F is equals to x into 1 plus I to the exponent n minus 1. This is the information that I have. All of it, let me extend my page, divided by I. Now, as I was going there was crucial information that we were given and that I have underlined. What is our X? It says is the monthly amount invested. So it simply means here they say she has invested 3,000 Rand. So it simply means for that X we are going to put how much? 3,000 Rand. So for I, let's talk about I. I, we know, is 10.8% per annum, but then is compounded monthly. That is very crucial. So how do you approach it when you answer it? I prefer on the side you indicate, you show understanding. You don't just substitute, but remember you are in an examination, you are rushing time, but you must also show understanding. So you say I, you are giving it as 10.8%. But it's per annum compounded monthly. We already know this one is 10.8 over 100. We are dividing, so it's going to be 0.108. But it says compounded monthly. I would love to talk about this one for a while. To say, if they say compounded monthly, you ask yourself, how many months do I have in a year? So I've got 12 months. So what you do, you then divide by 12. So you say 0.108 divided by 12, and you get your answer. You go to SD, you get your answer as 9 times 10 to the exponent negative 3. Of which we know is going to be 1, 2, 3, 9. Sorry. Let me write it nicely there. 1, 2, 3, 9, and I put a comma because it was 10 to the exponent negative 3. So it simply means I've got 3 zeros before my number. So you come and make your substitution. You say F is equals to, we said X is going to be 3,000, 1 plus. Now for your I, this is simply what you put, 0.009. Now the whole of it to the exponent n. Now let's quickly talk about n. If you look at n, the information that we are given about n is 11 months. So what does that simply mean? It simply means it's already in months, so you don't need to multiply. Please be careful about that. Even though we have divided there at I, in N, we don't multiply because already we are giving it in months. So what you simply do, you say, okay, I'm giving it in months, and it's already 11 months. 11 months minus 1 divided by 0,009. Now, what you simply do, quickly you go to your calculator, and when coming to your calculator, please, I would advise you, because calculator can be frustrating at some time, you better work with the ones that are inside the bracket first. After working in the one, you say 1 plus comma 009. Let me just delete that. They are in brackets. 1 plus comma 009, close bracket, to the exponent 11. And then you get your answer. No matter how long it is, this is what I also want to emphasize. Do not round it off. You write it the whole as is. And the whole number, you subtract 1 and you get your answer. Then you can multiply by 3,000. Then you divide by 0,09 and you get your answer. So your answer will be 34,525. Now, we are talking money. Please, this is very crucial. When we're talking money, even if you have many numbers and they did not instruct you to say correct to 2 decimal places or what, you need to be aware of this. Because we are talking money, you will then say 34,525 rand 83 cents. Because we are talking money and we cannot have more than two numbers after a comma. So that's the answer for 2.2. Then it says 2.3 quick. Okay, in that one, can I also emphasize, if the question was, please note this, if the question was 10.8 per annum compounded daily, that would have been a different situation. What we are going to do, instead of dividing that 10.8, instead of dividing this 10.8 by 12, you were going to divide it by 365 because they are saying daily. So please, you must be very careful. Do not cram it. Understand your question. They said monthly. That's why I have used 12. If it was daily, I was going to ask myself, how many days do I have in a year? I've got 365. Therefore, I used 365. And even this 11 months, it was going to change because I will be forced then to change it to days. I hope you get that very well. Okay, go and drink water. We'll be seeing you just after a second. Okay, welcome back. We are continuing with the question that we were doing. Please don't forget to call us on 0861 058 262. We'll be happy to assist you in your questions. We'll be continuing with the question that we were doing. We are still with the topic of Annabelle, who is earning 12,000 Rand and has been saving for money for her car. So we'll be doing 2.3. It says, on 1st July 2008, Annabelle receives a 10% salary increase. Calculate Annabelle's new monthly net salary. Now, this is very crucial. It's a salary increase. And it increases with how much? They are telling us here with 10%. So it simply means on top of the 100% that she already earns, she gets an extra 10%. So she's no more going to earn 100% only, she's gonna earn 110%. I hope I don't confuse you there. I'm saying she's been having this salary, which is 12,000 Rand. Now they are increasing it with how much? With 10%. 12,000 Rand has been 100%. So on top of that 100%, we are adding now the 10%. So this is how we're going to do it. It's question 2.3. Yeah, it's question 2.3. So we are quickly going to do it and say, on top of the 12,000 Rand that she's been getting now, she's gonna get extra. So she's going to get 110% now of how much? Of the money that she's been getting monthly, which is 12,000 Rand. So that one is simple. You simply say 110. You go to your shift. You go here percent of 12123. So which is equals to 13,200 Rand. So it simply means she got an extra money that she was getting, which was now on top of what she was getting, which it was now 1,200 Rand. So that's how we get a percentage increase. Please, we have increased the 100% with the 10%. Now, how much does she get now? It's 110. Of how much? Of 12,000 Rand. Or you can do it the other way and say, they say she gets 10% of 12,000 Rand. Let me write or here so that can see it's another method of 12,000 Rand. Now, how much is 10% of 12,000 Rand? You quickly come here, you say shift, you say percent of 12,000, then, oh, sorry, it's 10% of 12,123. So it means on top of 12,000 Rand, she gets 1,200 Rand. Now you say this 1,000 plus 12,000. So it means the salary now has increased from how much? It has increased with 1,200. And either way, you still get the same amount, which is 13,200 Rand. So I hope you can see that one. So let's quickly go to the question again. It says, okay, let me just shift this. And on 1st July 2008, Annabelle buys a car. She finds that she has to budget 3,900 Rand per month for the car to cover the cost of petrol, repayments, insurance, and maintenance. However, she no longer has to pay for public transport. Determine her new total monthly expenditure. This one, I think it makes sense because she already has got a car now. How much does she spend for the car? She spends 3,900 3,900 for the car. This is the money that she spent. So it simply means on top of the budget that she was having, she's gonna add 3,900 rand. But she no longer has to pay for what? For public transport. So let's go to our table. This is the table. This is her monthly expenditure. Rent, electricity. So this is from this amount, 8,400. She is no longer going to spend this 700 rand. Because now, why is she no longer going to spend it? Because now that 700 rand will be substituted by 3,900 that is being used for the car. So it simply means, let's quickly check, she was spending 8,400 rand. So we are going to write it there, 8,400 rand. From this 8,400 rand, we must subtract 700 rand. Why are we subtracting 700 rand? Because she no longer uses that money for transport. So we quickly say 8,400 minus 700 rand, which is 7,700 rand. 7,000, which is 7,700 rand. But now, on top of this money, she is going to spend 3,900 for what now? For the car. So it simply means on top of this money, we then add 3,900 rand, which is now equals to 11,600 rand. So what does that mean? It simply means her budget now has gone a little bit up. Yes, it makes sense because now she does have a car. So let's quickly go to the next question. So we have answered, this is going to be her total, this is going to be her new monthly expenditure. So we have answered that question and we get our marks. In her new car, Annabelle travels a distance of 18 kilometers to her workplace in approximately 15 minutes. Determine her average speed in kilometer per hour. This is crucial, kilometer per hour. Use the formula distance is equals to speed multiplied by time. It says in her new car, Annabelle travels, this is the distance that we have been given, is 18 kilometers. We have been given 15 minutes. So it simply means because of the word kilometer, we know its distance. Minutes, we know its time. So we need to calculate speed. So how are we going to calculate speed? So this is mathematics. Now we need to apply our mathematical knowledge there and simply say, now we are being given, I'm just going to use D for distance. Distance is equals to speed multiplied by time. We are requested to calculate this one. Now, please, this is very crucial. You can either simply substitute from here. We are being given distance. How much is our distance? Our distance is 18 kilometers. So you simply come here and say 18, you know it's in kilometers, is equals to, we don't know this one, the speed one. We know time they've given us, they said it's 15 minutes. We are given distance, they say it's 18 kilometers. So, but our answer, they say it must be in kilometer per hour. Now, if we've got minutes, how do we then get hours? We simply now say, how many minutes do we have in an hour? So we know we have 60 minutes. We've got 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now, the question is, how many minutes are we going now to have how many hours are we going to have in 15 minutes? Why am I doing this? It's because our answer is expected to be in kilometers per hour, not kilometers per minute. So it simply means I'm forced to, I don't have any choice. Even you as a learner, you are forced to now change those minutes to hours. So this is simply what you do. So I am also doing this so that you can be able, because most of the learners, sometimes they get confused. They don't know when to multiply and when to divide. So I think this can simply help you to say 60 minutes represent 1 hour, 15 minutes will represent X. Now, I will simply say 15 minutes times 1 hour, which is X, 60 minutes. So from here, I can see my X is with the 60 minutes, so I will need to divide by 60 minutes. So I will say 15 divided by 60. So I got a quarter. So I don't know S, I write it there. So time will be 1 over 4. 1 over 4, sorry, is then 1 over 4, which is now in us. So I think when it's like this, it becomes simple now for you. We have to now change, because we have to change this one. So we are going to say 18 kilometer. I think for it to be simple, let me change this quarter to, we know, even if, let me just quickly assist you so that you can see it's comma 25 hours. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide by comma 25 this side, and I'm also going to divide by comma 25 hours. Now, if you see, it's already in that, because if it's in this format, it's the same as kilometer over H. So you must always remember that. So you simply use your calculator and say 18 divided by comma 25, which is equals to 72 kilometer per hour, which is now your speed. Now, in doing this one, here we were given time in minutes. We had to change it in hours. Sometimes I'm going to take the same question and rephrase it to say, what if they said to you, in Henuka, Annabelle travels a distance of 1,800 centimeters to her workplace in approximately, let's say, 0.25 hours. Now, in that instant, and let's say your answer must be in kilometer per hour. So I'm going to change this one for now, just to show you even how do we convert, because most of the learners do have a challenge around that. Let's say this one, it was 1,800, yeah, 1,800 maybe centimeters. And this one, you were given it maybe as 0.25. So how do you convert from that centimeter to kilometer? I'm going to give you something that I think it can help you, that is helping me even at my age, that is, when I look at it, it's been helping even my learners to say, when you convert, because this time you have 1,800 centimeters. That's your distance. Your time, they say, it's 0.025 hours. You have to calculate speed. You are given the same scenario. Now, what is it that you do? Now, in here, what you can simply do, if you have this table, it's going to help you to convert either from centimeter, even if it's for kilograms, it's going to help you a lot. I used to say, who di man di centimark. Now, if you look at this one, I then put a 1 in the middle, because it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The one that is in the middle, I put a 1. Then I put 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, what I need to know is, when I go to this side, I must divide, because I'm going to the left-hand side. I'm making it less. When I go to the right-hand side, I multiply. If you can know this table, it's going to help you a lot. So even that one, quickly, if you look at 18, if it's 1,800 centimeters, you simply say, okay, this is my kilometer. These are the only things that you need to know. Kilometer, meter, decimeter, centimeter, and meter. kilometer, meter, decimeter, centimeter, and meter. If you need to convert from centimeter to kilometer, you say, okay, I put a 1 here, I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So you simply say, okay, I've got 1,800, so I simply say 1,800. Because I'll be going to the left, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide. So I say 1,000 divide by. I want to know with how much. I simply say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or with 5 zeros. So that's simply how you do it. So I hope you have learned. If you can just you get to know this one, kilometer, hectometer, decameter. Those ones you really don't need to know. Some of the learners, they simply say, King Harry died, miserable disease called measles. So you simply know that if I have this, when I go to the left, I divide. When I go to the right, I multiply. It's going to help you a lot in your calculation. So we have come to the end of this one. And the other thing that is very, very crucial that you must, will be seeing you after a while. My colleague will be taking on. Please don't forget to call us 0861058262. Thank you.
Welcome. We've had a question from a caller, a young lady by the name of Lesego. Lesego, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great, Lesego. Now, apparently you wanted us to look at a question,
Yes.
2.21 of the November 2009, or 2.22.
Yes.
All right.
Question 2.2.
Okay, we'll get there now. Let's just read the whole question so our viewers know what it's about.
Okay.
All right, great. Let's have a look there. 2.2, Table 3, and this is our Table 3 over here, shows the area, the population, and the gross domestic product per province in South Africa during 2007-2008. So let's have a look at this table over here. We can see we've got our provinces listed, all 9 of them. We told how big the area is of each province, and that's given to us in kilometers squared. We told the population of each province, and then we're given the GDP. We're not going to worry too much about the GDP at this stage, because I think your question is all about the population and the area. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Let's have a look at it then. 2.22. According to the Agricultural Research Council, 80% of South Africa's land surface area is used for farming. However, only 11% of the farming land is suitable for planting of crops. 3.2 million hectares of farming land in the Free State is suitable for the planting of the crops. Okay, let's analyze this whole question. First of all, we're told that we have a certain amount of land in South Africa. Of that whole land, only 80% of that is good enough for farming. And of that 80%, only 11% of that 80% is good enough for the planting of crops. Do you understand the question?
Okay.
Okay, great. Now, it says here, calculate the total area in kilometers squared of land that is used for farming in South Africa. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to look at this area of land that we have in South Africa. So what would you suggest that the first thing we do, Lesego?
Take the 18%.
Take the what?
The 80%.
Okay, before we take the 80% though, we've got to know how much actual land we have, don't we?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, absolutely. So let's add up the amount of land in each province. Once we've added that up, then we can find the 80% of that. Agreed?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. There's another way to do it, but it's a much longer way, is we could actually say, let's find 80% of the Western Cape. Let's find 80% of the area of the Eastern Cape. Let's find 80% of the KwaZulu-Natal. And then, once we've got all those 80%, we can then add them up. But you know what? That's a much longer way. The shorter way of doing it is saying, hey, let's have a look here. Western Cape, we told, has got an area of 129,370 kilometers squared. Agreed?
Yes.
And then we're told as well that our next province, Eastern Cape, has got 169,580 kilometers squared. Agreed?
Agreed.
And we're going to add up all those provinces. And when we do that, we are going to realize that the total land in South Africa is actually 1,219,090 kilometers squared. Now, what does that actually mean, Lesego? That actually means this. It means if I were to get in my car or on my motorbike or go for a jog, let's use the jogging, okay? We start at a point and we jog for 1 kilometer that way, and then we stop and we turn around and we go 1 kilometer that way. We are actually got 1 kilometer squared.
Okay.
Right? And South Africa is made up of 1,219,090 of those squares. Now, that's a lot of land. Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay. But the question's actually asking us here, and it's saying to us quite clearly that only 80% of that land is used for farming. So we've got the 1,219,000. What are we going to do with that figure, Lesego?
Aren't you going to divide it by the 80%?
Or multiply it by 80%.
Yeah, multiply by 80%.
Right. We are going to say we want 80, and how do I write 80% as a fraction?
You're at 80 over 100.
Fantastic. 80 over 100 of, and the mathematical term of the word of is what sign?
Times.
Times.
Multiply it.
Brilliant. Well done. So we've got 80% of 1,219,090 kilometers. So on our calculator then, what we're going to do is this. We are going to say, I have 80, divide that by 100, and then we're going to multiply that answer by 1,219,090. And we're going to then land up with an answer of 975,272 what?
0.2.
Squared kilometers of land.
Kilometers.
Okay. So that is equal to 975,272 kilometers squared. So that, although we've got over 1 million squared kilometers of land, not all of it's good enough for farming. Okay? Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
All right. So you're happy with that part of the question?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you want to go on to the next part?
Yes, please.
It says now, calculate the percentage of land in South Africa suitable for planting crops that is found in the Free State. Okay. So, ons gaan nou Vrystaat toe. We're now going to the Free State. And we are going to say, right, in the Free State, we are told that 3.2 million hectares of the farming land in the Free State is suitable for planting crops. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. But I have a problem. And my problem is this, that we are going to try and find out the percentage of land that's good enough in the Free State, okay, compared to the rest of the country. But our country's answers are given in what?
In kilometers squared.
Excellent. And let's look at the question again here. What's it telling us about the Free State? 3.2 million what? Hectares.
3.2 million hectares.
Absolutely. So we've got a bit of a problem because we're dealing with hectares and we're dealing with kilometers squared.
Hectares squared.
But the examiners, which are wonderful people, are actually helping you out here. Because if you look at the bottom of that question, it actually tells you that 1 hectare is equal to 0.01 kilometers. Okay. So the first thing we've got to do is this. We've got to say 3.2 million. Okay. So how do I write 3.2 million? Say it out for me. Okay. Without saying 0.2, write out the whole number.
Okay, 3.
Yeah.
0.
3.
2 0
0 0, nice.
0 0.
0 0 and a nog a 0, eh? So
Okay.
it's 3,200,000 hectares. Okay. But we were told that 1 hectare is equal to 0.01 kilometers squared. What do we multiply hectares by to get kilometers squared? We multiply it by 0.01.
0.1.
Right, if I multiply that by 0.01, I'm going to get 0.01. So we're going to do the same thing here. We are going to say, right, let's multiply that by 0.01 kilometers. And when we do that on our calculator, we are going to have,
32.
let's just clear our calculator. There we go.
320.
3,200,123 multiplied by 0.01. What did you get?
I got 320.
Okay, there we go. There we go. All right,
Okay. I rounded it off. So my calculator's on rounding off.
Okay, well, don't do that in your exam, hey? Otherwise, your
Okay.
teachers are not going to be happy with you, nor your parents, and nor the examiner and the markers. Okay,
Okay.
so we've got 32,000 kilometers of kilometers squared of land is good enough to plant crops in the Free State. Would you agree? Okay, so let's look at this question again. It's saying now, calculate the percentage of land in South Africa suitable for planting crops. Now, how much is suitable for planting crops? Only 11%.
10%.
Right. Now, do you remember we worked out that 80% of the land for farming was 975,000? Agree?
Yes.
But we want only 11% of that. So what are we going to do?
Aren't you going to subtract the 11%?
Well, we're going to multiply it by 11% to see what 11% actually is, aren't we? Okay. And when we do that, what are we going to land up with? 11% of that? Have you got a calculator?
Yes, I do.
Do you get the same answer as I do? I land up with 107,279,000.92 kilometers.
Yes.
Squared,
Yes, I do.
eh? Okay. Now that's the total amount of land good enough for the country, for planting crops for the country, but only 32,000 of that is good enough for the Free State. And we want to work that as a percentage, don't we? So what we're going to do then is, let's just get a bit of a clean page here. We are going to say, right, 32,000 is the Free State. The country is 107,279.92. This is all kilometers squared. And we want it as a percentage, so we're going to multiply it by 100. Excellent. And when you do that with your calculator, you're going to land up with 29.83%. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I am.
Lesego, has that answered your question?
Yes, it does.
Ah, that's fantastic. And on that great note, then, we're going to take a break. And so I'm sure someone else will be talking to you in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So Lesego, thanks for calling in. Have a great day and good luck on Monday. Right, welcome back. We've just been having a chat with a dear young lady called Lesego, who asked us a question from the November 2009 paper. And we were very pleased we were able to answer her question, and I'm sure we have a happy customer on our hands. However, even though we have answered her question, we thought we'd carry on and answer the next part of that question as well, because it's a very interesting question and a good paper 2 question. Good stuff for our matrics for Monday. Okay. Let's have a look at it. We started off by looking at this table that showed the provinces. It showed the area of each province. It showed the population of each of those provinces. Okay? And then it showed something called the GDP. And we're not worrying about that at all today. And so I'm just going to put a line straight through that and say, forget about that for now. Okay. Now, one of our questions is this. Population density is calculated by using the following formula. Population density is equal to the total population over the area occupied by the population. Now, folk, listen to me carefully. Examiners can be strange people. They think of the most weirdest questions at times, but every time an examiner gives you a formula in your paper, the chances are you are going to use the formula. They don't wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and think, let me think of a weird formula and slap it in this paper and confuse the entire country. That's not the way they work. So if we look at this question 2.23, we get given a formula. Here it is over here. Okay? Population density is equal to the total population over the area occupied by the population. So I know before I even start this question, I'm going to use that formula. That's a fact. And if I don't use that formula, chances are either my examiner has lost his mind or I as a student could have done something wrong. And you know what? I would say the chances are you would have done something wrong. Okay? So given a formula, got to use it. Let's use it. Now, Tumelo states that the province with the smallest land surface area has the lowest population density? Tebego states that the province with the smallest population has the lowest population density. Question A. Calculate the population density of the province with the smallest land surface area. Okay, so let's look at our table. The first thing we're looking for is something with the smallest land surface area. Here's the land area. Which one is the smallest? Well, we got one. We got 92. We got 17. This looks pretty low. Okay, so we're going to say fine. Gauteng has the lowest surface area. We're going to try and find out the population density of Gauteng. How do we do it? Well, we're going to look at our formula. Our formula states quite clearly that population density, so the density, let's get a pen here, the density is equal to what? The total population, so it's equal to my population divided by the area. Okay, so we are trying to find the population density of Gauteng. Let's look at it again. Up we go. And Gauteng, we're looking at a population of 9,688,100. Let's write that down. Our population, 9,688,100. All over the area. What's the area of Gauteng? 17,010 kilometers squared. Let's write that down. 17,010. So, first of all, folk, what is population density? Okay. What they're actually saying is this, that if I get a kilometer squared, and before the break we spoke to Lesego and told her what a kilometer squared is, and basically it's this. If I start at this point and I walk a kilometer that way, turn around and walk another kilometer, I have a square kilometer. Okay? Kilometer by kilometer by kilometer by kilometer. My square is a kilometer, 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 kilometer. Okay? And the population density is saying how many people live in that square. Do we understand the question? So, Gauteng says we have a population of just over 9 million. Our area is just over 17,000 square kilometers. So what's our population density? Well, we're going to clear our calculator and we're going to do that and say 9,688,100. Divide that then by 17,010. And we're going to land up with an answer that says, hey, we got 569,55. Oopsie, we've gone astray here. Okay, there we go. 55. Now, folk, we're going to bring up something that we mentioned earlier. Okay. If I have a person, I can't have half a person. I have a whole person. Even if the person has his arms amputated, he's still a person. If he has his legs amputated, he's still a person. I can't have a bit of a person. So I either have one person or two people. I don't have one and a bit. Okay? Even though you might sometimes look at your teacher and think, is she all there? She's still a whole person. Let's look back at our answer now. We've got an answer of 569,55 people. Folk, we can't have 55 people. So we're going to change that. That 55, we're going to round up. And we've now got an answer of 570 people. So when we go to Gauteng, every kilometer area, okay, kilometer squared, we got 570 people living in that kilometer squared. Cool? Right. Let's have a look then. So we've answered that part of the question, which said calculate the population density of the province with the smallest land area. Now, compare with supporting calculations the statements of Tumelo and Tebego. Now, who stated the smallest land area. Smallest land surface was Tumelo. So this over here is actually Tumelo's answer. We now need to work out if Tubejo makes any sense. And Tubejo said this, that the province with the smallest population. So let's look at the province with the smallest population. And away we go, and I have one here of only 1 million. I got 4 million, 6 million, 10 million, 1 million, 2, 3, 4. There is my smallest population, Northern Cape. So again, we're going to find the population density of the Northern Cape. And we know that the density is going to be my population over the actual area of land that we're doing. Remember, we said it's the population over the area. So let's find out now the population of the smallest province with smallest population. Here it is, 1 million. Let's write that down. 1,102,200 people. And how big is that province? Well, that province is 361,830 kilometers squared. So we're going to put that down there, 361,830. Okay, equals, and we take out our calculator, and we are going to say, I have a population of 1,102,200 divided by my area of land, which is 361,830 kilometers, and we're going to land up with an answer here of 3,046 something, 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 something. What did we say just now? You can't have a bit of a person. So 3,0, we're going to say we've got 3 people. So the question now is this: who is right? Okay, so Tumelo stated the province smallest land surface has the lowest population. Right. Tubejo said lowest area, lowest population, lowest density. Tumelo said lowest area, lowest population density. So who's right over here? It must be our dear Tubejo. So Tubejo for this question was 100% correct. All right. Sure, that was a tough one, hey? But you know what? You're going to get tough ones like that in your paper on Monday, guys. I'm sorry about that, but that's the way it is. But here's the exciting news. The more you practice, and the more you practice and practice and practice and practice, man, you're going to walk into an exam and see a question and say, man alive, I recognize this question. Okay, the figures are kind of different, the scenario is a little bit different, but what the concept they're asking me here, I did 2 or 3 of those before I wrote this exam when I was actually revising. So a good word of advice: take your past papers, go over them, go over them, go over them. Make sure you can do them. That should be what your revision is all about at this stage. It's too late to start going to the textbook now. By this stage, boys, you writing on Monday, you should just be going through past paper after past paper after past paper. And true, when you don't know how to do it, then go to your textbook. How on earth would one do this? This is how we do it. Okay? Good, sound advice. And on that good sound advice, then we're going to take a bit of a break, and I'm sure someone else will be chatting to you shortly after this. Sit back, relax. In fact, go get a cup of coffee, and we'll see you in 2 minutes. Cheers.
say hello. We are back on air. We have a caller on the line. Okay, hello, Fortunate.
Hello.
How are you, lady?
I'm fine.
Okay, I'm happy if you are fine. I just want to, yes, Fortunate, you are talking to Manze. I'll try to respond to your question. Where you don't understand, please stop me so that you can get out from here understanding. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Your question was, pizza is a favorite of teenagers in South Africa. Fortunate and her friends want to order pizza. They have the following choices. Fortunate, hello?
Hello.
Yes. Now, your question was around the probabilities where we have to draw a tree diagram. So I'll go straight to it by asking you the first question. Do you like pizza?
No.
You don't? So you are not one of the teenagers in South Africa, yeah? Okay, Fortunate. But you know what is pizza, ne?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Now, when you buy, the minute you go to a shop, you want to buy a pizza, you have choices. So the minute you have a choice, that's where a tree diagram comes in. So I'm going to respond to your first question that says, draw a tree diagram, ne?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the things that you gave me was you have size. So, hello?
Hello.
Yes, you have got size. Your size in a pizza, they can either be small, medium, or large, but your question was specifically around medium and large. So for the symbols, I'm going to use M for medium, L for large. Crust, you had regular and thick. So for the symbols, I'm going to use R for regular, T for thick. The ingredients that you had sausages, you had pineapple, you had ham and cheese. So for sausages, I'm going to use S. For pineapple, I'm going to use P. For ham and cheese, I'm going to use H. Are we still together, Fortunate?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when they say draw a tree diagram, this is what you do, Fortunate. You say, because you go to a shop with your friends, you have to choose for size. The other thing you have to choose for crust. You also have to choose for your ingredients. So I'll just write that one for ingredients. Now, the minute you have either or, that is where the tree diagrams come in. So because you have to choose for size, you have to choose between medium and large. Isn't it so, Fortunate?
Yes.
Now, because you have to choose between medium and large, this is what you are going to do. You are going to say, okay, for my size, for the fact that I have to choose, I'm going to use this sign. I'm going to use this sign. The minute I use this sign, I simply mean I can order either the medium or the large. Did you get me? So this one, it simply means the other person, meaning when you go and buy pizza, you cannot in one pizza get both medium and large. The other one of your friends, Fortunate, will get medium. Yourself, you'll get a large. Now, after that, you then have to decide from your crust. So for the fact that you'll have to decide either a regular or a thick base, you also have to use this. So the minute you open this, these two are simply meaning either or. So that's where we use a tree diagram. So the minute they say complete or draw a tree diagram, it simply means you have a choice. So that is what a tree diagram does. It gives you either the medium or the large. Now, when you come to the crust, you can either order a regular or a thick base. But that does not mean the person who has ordered a large does not also have a choice. The person who has ordered a large pizza also will decide whether it to be a regular or a thick base. Are we still together, Fortunate?
Yes.
Okay, my love. Now, the ingredients. In a pizza, you will decide. You will either get, according to your ingredients, either you get a sausage or a pineapple or a ham or a cheese. So the minute I use the word or, this is what I do. The minute I use that word, or, this is simply what you're going to do. You say, I can choose. For the fact that I can choose, I'm going to. Now, in here, why did I use three arrows, patience? Fortunate. Why did I use 3 lines? Why do you think I use 3 lines? Here I use 2, it's medium and large. Here I use 2, it's regular. Here, why am I using 3? Why do you think so?
Because there's 2 choices to choose.
That's how many?
3, I meant to say.
Good. So what are those ingredients? Let's write them. What are those?
Sausage.
Sausage. Now I'm going to write S for sausage. The other one?
Pineapple.
Pineapple. Do you see why I write my P? Not next to sausage, but under sausage. The other one?
Ham and cheese.
Ham and cheese. So I'm going to use H for ham and cheese. Ne? Now, this simply means a person who has ordered a medium regular has those choices. Now, in this one, for a thick base, for the ingredients, how many lines will I have to open up here?
3.
Very good. 3. Why 3, Fortunate?
Because there's 3 choices.
Very good. So what are those choices?
Sausage.
Sausage,
Pineapple.
pineapple,
Ham and cheese.
ham and cheese. Good. So let's come here. Even here, so I think here I can quickly write them. You understand here, ne?
Yes.
And also here. Sausage, pineapple, ham and cheese. Do you have a question up to so far, Fortunate?
Yes.
You have a question?
A question?
Yes.
No.
Or do you understand what we are doing? Because I'm not doing it alone.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for the possible outcomes, I'm going to write up there. Can I just remove this? Let me just do this to write it nicely. This is for size. This is for size. This is for crust. And these are the ingredients. Now, for the possible outcomes, I'm just going to use the word P-O. Ne? Now, this is possible outcome.
Okay.
Because that was your next question. To say, what are the possible outcomes? We must write down those possible outcomes. Isn't it so? Okay. Fortunate. This is how we write the possible outcomes. I'm going to help you with the first one, and then I'll be expecting you to do the rest. I'm going to put an arrow here, and this is how I get my possible outcomes. I'm going to say M for medium, R for regular, S for sausage. Can you see that? My second possible outcome, I'll help you with it, also is going to be a medium, a regular, P for pineapple. Can you do the third one? Okay. Now, the third one, when we get the possible outcomes, we start from the size, the crust, and the ingredients. So I'll say the medium, regular, and ham. So these are the possible outcome. By possible outcome, what does it simply mean? It simply means when Fortunate and her friends go to a shop, what is it that they expect to get when buying a pizza? It means the other one will have either a medium, will have with a regular base, with a sausage, just like that. So the possible outcomes will come also here. It's a medium, the thick base, and the sausage. The medium, the thick base, and the pineapple. Medium, thick base, ham and cheese. For this one, it's going to be a large, regular sausage. It's a large, regular with a pineapple. Large, regular with ham. So when I get the possible outcomes, what is it that I do? I start, hi, Fortunate.
Hello.
Are you with me with the possible outcomes, my love?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. Can you please complete these ones for me? What will be the possible outcomes? The last, how many possible outcomes are left in this one?
Okay, 3.
3, very good. So the first one will be?
T.
Huh?
L.
What does
L.
L stand for?
For large.
Very good. It's for large. And then?
Followed by S.
No, look, it's L,
Oh, T.
T, and?
And S.
Good. The second one?
It's L.
Good.
T.
Good.
P.
Very good. The last one?
L.
Mm-hmm.
T.
Good.
A.
Very good. So do you still have a problem with the possible outcomes?
No.
Now, how many possible outcomes do we have? This is simply what you do. You'll start to count with me. We'll start from Mrs. Can you see Mrs.? Medium, regular, sausage. So it's
Yes.
1. Can you see it? 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So how many possible outcomes do we have?
12.
Very good. So you write there 12 possible outcomes. Fortunate, did I answer you?
Yes.
Are you happy with my answer?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be continuing with your question. Please stay on your TV. I'll add some of the questions on your question so that you can understand it more. Ne?
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, we'll still continue with fortunate question. The next question can be, what is the probability that Fortunate will order a pizza with pineapple? So we are aware that Fortunate and her friends went to a shop. They've ordered a pizza with different ingredients. But now we want to know specifically a pizza with a pineapple, not anything else. So we go back to our possible outcomes. We know P stands for pineapple. So what we simply do here, we do this. We find anything that has got a P from our possible outcomes. So we look here. The first one, MRS, there is no P for pineapple, so we don't take it. We only look at the ones because the question says, what is the probability of ordering a pizza with a pineapple? So this is the first one that has got a pineapple. It's 1. It's 2. I see a 3. I also see the 4. So it means there are 4 out of 12. So we'll say here, the probability of ordering, please write it this way. Don't just write the answer. So you say probability of getting a pizza with a pineapple. A pizza with a pineapple is 4 out of 12. In most cases, if the question says simplify your answer, then you must give your answer as 1/3. And remember, probability, you can be asked to write it this way, it's in a fraction. You can be asked to write it as a decimal, so you simply say 1 divided by 3, which is the same as comma 3, 3. Depending if they say your answer must be correct to 2 decimal places, then you just write your answer as that way. So, Fortunate, thank you so much for your question. It was it makes us at least to think now to help you in understanding what we're doing here. It's, please remember, the minute you've got a choice, it's either or. So that is, for the fact that you are saying either or, that's where the 3 diagrams come in. So because here we had only between 2 choices, that's why we had only these 2, medium and large. There we've got 3 choices, that's why we had S, P, and H. I hope we have helped you today. My colleague will be coming back soon. Please don't forget to call us on 0861 058 262. Thank you very much for your time. Keep on studying and good luck on your examination on Monday. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, welcome back. During the break we had a call from Promise. Promise wanted us to have a look at a depreciation question. Promise, are you there? Promise?
Hello.
Hi, Promise. Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Good. Promise, you wanted us to have a look at a depreciation question, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, before I start the question, tell me, what do you know, what do you understand about the word depreciation? What do you understand by it?
I understand that something has lose maybe guarantee, yeah.
Say again, something that loses its
That
value.
loses guarantee.
Yes, so basically things like cars, equipment, that kind of stuff depreciates. In other words, it loses its value. So for example, if you're going to go buy a car, a brand new car, and as soon as you drive it off that showroom floor, it's going to lose a chunk of its value, and that's known as depreciation. Okay, so it's not a difficult concept to understand. What is quite nice about the questions is they often just give you the formula, and then you just need to plug in the symbols. Do you understand by that?
Yes.
Okay, so well, let's have a look at the question that we've got. This comes out of the Limpopo prelim paper from 2 years ago. So it says the following. It says, Lesecha buys a car for 160,000. Calculate the value of his car after 2 years if it values depreciates, in other words, decreases at an inflation rate of 8%. Okay, and then they give you the formula. Now, if you look at the formula as it stands, what does the P normally stand for? So if you think about your compound interest and your simple interest formula, what does the P normally stand for? Okay, do you know? Promise, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so tell me, what does the P normally stand for? Do you know? Okay, I'm going to tell you. The p-value is normally the original value that we're dealing with. Are you there? Okay, so it's the original value that we're dealing with. Okay, so the first value. So the value of the car when we bought it is going to be 160,000. Okay? Happy with that? Okay. All right. I'm just going to keep going. The interest rate, in other words, the depreciation rate that we're dealing with is 8%. Okay, so if we're dealing with that, 8% means 8 over 100. And if I write that as a decimal, that's 0.08. On your calculator, you can work that out. And then the n value, that's our time period that we're working with. And in the question, it says that it depreciates after, we want to know what it is after 2 years. Okay? Promise you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you heard what I was saying while you were away, but if you just quickly have a look at what I've written down on the screen, quickly go through it. The p-value, remember, is the first value that you're dealing with. In other words, what did the car cost you? Okay? Happy with that? The interest rates, they tell us, is 8%. So if I change 8%, how do I change 8% into a decimal? What do you do? 8%, how do we write 8%?
You must divide it by 100 and write in a decimal place.
Excellent, and that's what I've done there. So I've said 8 divided by 100, and that gave me 0.08. Cool, happy with that? All right, and then the last thing that we need is the time period, so the little symbol for n. And if you look at the question, they want to know what it is after 2 years. So I've written my 2 years in there. You got that? Okay, so once we have those values, then all we need to do now is we need to plug them into the formula, grab your calculator, and get your answer. Okay, so I'm going to write it in. So 160,000, 1 minus 0.08, and that's raised to a power of 2. And then if you grab your calculator, promise you're still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, have you got your calculator with you?
No.
Okay, are you going to watch the one that's on the screen? Okay, watch what I do. All right, so 160,000.
Open the bracket.
Okay, open the brackets. And then? What do I? 1
minus
0.08.
0.08.
Correct. Close brackets.
Then to the power
Yes.
2.
Excellent. Well done. Okay, and then our answer for that is 135,424. So 135,424. Okay, nice and easy. All right, and then the one thing you must just remember then, promise, when you're doing this question, is when you get an answer for depreciation, you can see that that answer is less than 160,000, and that makes sense because it's got to be less than 160,000 because we've just said that it's going to lose value. So if you get anything that's more than 160,000, well, then you know you've made a mistake, and then you need to go back and have a look at what you've done wrong. Okay.
Because the price must decrease. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Does that make sense? You happy with that?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, thanks, Promise. All right, we'll be back just after the short break.
Well, welcome back. Great afternoon. Of course it is. The Sharks are busy whipping the Western Province, and that in itself makes it a wonderful, wonderful afternoon today. All right, we've had a number of callers phoning us long time ago when dinosaurs still roamed. Well, actually not really, about an hour and a half ago. We did a question question 1 about 2 types of cell phones that were being sold. And we didn't quite get to finish that question, and we kind of moved on. But, well, we've had so many callers phoning and saying, hey, you've got to finish this question. So that's what we're going to do now. And so we've had someone like Tundi phone us, and we've also had another guy called Ingo phone us. And in fact, I think I've got Ingo on the line now. Ingo, are you there? Hello?
Hi.
Ah, hi, Ingo. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Ah, great. How was your paper number 1?
The paper was okay. It was kind of, yeah, it was good actually.
Okay, fantastic. Now we just got to make sure you get through paper 2. All right, Inga, let's have a look. You were worrying about this question. Let me just put our readers, let them know about the context first of all. If we look at the question, 1.2, it was the following table lists the monthly sales of 2 types of cell phone models, our P500 and our Q600, at a cell phone shop over a period of 5 months during 2007. So if we look at our table, we'll see that P500 in April sold 980. Sorry, hello?
I was asking for 1.2.2. I'm really sorry. I said 1.2.2.
1.2.2. So is this what the question you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to get there now, all right? I'm just letting everyone know. So basically what we're saying is right, we wanted to know who had the greatest increase. So we said, well, in August, they sold 1,520. April, 980. We subtracted the 2. We got a lovely answer of 540. We then took 1.5, subtracted 600. We got an answer of 900. And so we could conclude that our Q600 had the greatest increase in sales. Now, let's get to the question that you're actually asking us for. In this question here, a scale drawing of the screen of a cell phone P500 according to a scale 2 to 5 is given alongside. So let's have a look at that diagram. You can see here I've got the screen of the P500. It's drawn to a scale. In other words, a scale is 2 to 5. What does 2 to 5 actually mean, Inga? What do you think it means? Are you there? Have I lost you?
Yeah, yes, I'm not really sure, but...
Okay, what it actually means, I'm not quite hearing you clearly. We seem to have a bad connection. So I'll just answer my own question for you. What it actually means is this, that for every 2 units on my diagram, it actually represents 5 units in real life. Now, what are those units? Well, those units could be anything. It could mean for every 2 centimeters on my diagram, it represents 5 centimeters in real life. It could mean for every 2 millimeters, it represents 5 millimeters. You know what? It could even mean for every 2 lengths of my fingers on the diagram, it represents 5 lengths of my fingers in real life. Okay? So 2 to 5, as long as the units are the same. If we're saying 2 millimeters, then it represents 5 millimeters. If we're saying 2 kilometers, then it represents 5 kilometers. Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, excellent. So the first thing we need to do then, the question asks us, use accurate measurements and given the scale to determine the actual measurements of the screen. So first thing we've got to do then is we've actually got to measure on our diagram both the length and the breadth of that cell phone. Now, I'm going to tell you this, it's quite difficult for me to do this on the screen because my measurements aren't the same as they are on paper. So what I did when I heard that you were interested in the question, I actually cheated just a little bit and had the question printed out, and on the question I actually measured it myself. Now, according to my measurements, and you must understand I'm getting on and my eyes don't work so good, but according to my measurements, the breadth of that cell phone was 20 millimeters. Did you get that more or less?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Okay, so 20 millimeters on my diagram represents what in my real life? Well, we know that my ratio is 2 is to 5. So what I know is 2 is to 5. Let's find out how long 1 unit is. We know 2 units. 2 units represents 20 millimeters. What does 1 unit represent? Okay, so I'm going to divide this 20 millimeters by 2. So I know 1 unit represents 10 millimeters. Do you agree with me?
Yes, I do.
So how do we make the 1 to get to 5? We multiply by what?
10.
Well, no, we want to get 1 to 5. We're going to multiply by 5. Agreed.
Right.
So 20 millimeters on my diagram represents 50 millimeters in real life. So if I look at my ruler over here, I've got 20 millimeters on the diagram, represents 50 millimeters in real life. So although my diagram says, hey, my cell phone is only so wide, okay, in real life it is so wide. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. Let's go back then again and see now. Oops, we're going all over the place here. So now what we're actually saying is we've got to measure the length as well. And again, I cheated a little bit and I said, right, I measured it and I got more or less 38 millimeters. What did you get?
I also got 38 millimeters.
Excellent. We're talking the same language. I love it. I always love it as a teacher when things work out the same. There's nothing worse when you stand in front of a class or stand in front of live TV and things don't work out. That's just so embarrassing. But we're working out, so there's no need to be embarrassed. Now, we know 38 millimeters represents 2 units. How are we going to work out what 1 unit represents?
Divide.
Divide by 2. So if I say 38 divided by 2, I get 19 millimeters. So 1 unit is 19. What is 5 units going to be?
Multiply by 5.
Absolutely. 19 times 5, which is going to give you what? Round about 95. Agreed?
9.
Okay, so let's look at it again. On our diagram, 38 mils. Okay, we were looking at a height that big. But in real life, it's 95, which means my cell phone is actually that tall. Or the screen on my cell phone anyway. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. We're doing well. Let's go on now, and let's look at this next question. Because this is quite an interesting one. The salesman for cell phone P500 claimed that the monthly sales for cell phone Q600 were decreasing, while the sales for cell phone P500 were increasing. So let's have a look at this. So some salesman says, you know what? My P500, my sales are going up. But for my Q600, my sales are going down. Okay. Now, what's our question? Our question says, the manager of the cell phone shop noted that one of the graphs was misleading. Identify the misleading graph and explain why it is misleading. So let's look at the graphs. Okay. Now, Inga, what do you think is the problem here?
The graph B. I actually think the graph was drawn with the months reversed.
Absolutely. You're an absolute star. You're going to do so well in this exam. Let's have a look at it here. If we look here, we can see graph A, April, May, June, July, August, and my sales are going up. If we look at this, hold on, we've got August, July, June, May, and April. So I ask myself, what is going on here? And the thing that's gone wrong is that where my months were increasing with the P500 graph, with my Q600, the months were in reverse. So if we look at our graph, yes, April, I've got some wonderful sales. August, I got some wonderful sales. April, I didn't have so many nice sales. But if we reverse this, if I took this graph, okay, and I flipped it over, what would that graph then look like?
Increase?
Yeah, absolutely. What will happen is if this was April, my April would be here. Or here, sorry. And if that was May, and I moved May here, my May would be over there. June would still be in the same spot. May, where it's there, would now go there and there. So my graph would also look like it's increasing. Do you see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Have we answered your question here today, Inga?
Yes, we have.
Ah, that's brilliant. And listen, everything of the best for Monday. Trust it goes well. And we hope to hear that you guys have done phenomenally well. So we're going to watch out for your results in the newspaper. You hear me?
Yeah, I'm aiming for 90.
Excellent. Go for it. Don't even aim for 90. Go for 95. Why not? Don't lower the bar. Climb as high as you can. All right. Folk, I'm going to knock off for a break. Before I do, I just want to say one thing again. Please feel free to call us on 0861 058 262 and ask us a question, and we'll try everything in our power to answer it for you. Or you can email us on info@learnextra.co.za. We're going to take a break now and quick turn over to the rugby and see how much better the Sharks are doing than Western Province. Only for 2 minutes though, and get back to us. Thanks very much. Chat later.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks Peter for that question. We're going to have a look at another question now. One of the callers called us during the break. Khomotso wants to have a look at an annuity question, and we've looked at one already. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at something very similar, kind of also involves a lot of calculation skills, making sure that you understand how your calculator works, as well as the symbols that they use are very similar to the formula that we're going to do now. Okay, so it's not exactly an annuity question, but it's something that will help you to practice a similar type of question. I'll just let you know where the question comes from. This comes out of the prelim paper from this year, the second paper. It's question 4.3. For those of you who've got your papers with you, you can have a look at that. We've got it on the screen, but obviously it's also nice just to have that question with you as we go through it. Khomotso, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, excellent. Did you hear what I was saying? We're going to look at the question. It's similar to an annuity question. It's not exactly an annuity question, but it's very, very similar. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's okay. It's perfect.
Okay, all right. Let's have a look at what it says on the screen. So it says, Kagiso decides to borrow money from the bank to pay for a holiday. He borrows 21,000 Rand at 9% per year compounded monthly. He wants to pay off the loan in 5 years, and then they give you a formula that's quite complex, but if you know what the symbols mean, then it's actually really quite straightforward. Okay, so I'm just going to write in what the formula looks like. The formula says the following. All right, it says X equals P times I, and it's all over this big long spiel at the bottom. Okay, now if you had to just look at that formula, Khomotso, what would you be thinking straight away? So if I said to you the p-value, what do you think the p-value is going to stand for?
That's the amount, like the principal amount, I think.
Yeah, the original amount. So the amount that he wants to borrow, okay? So the 21,000 Rand, that's what we call the present value. In other words, that's the amounts of money that he wants to borrow from the bank. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look at basically calculating how much he's going to have to pay back. So his monthly installments that he's going to have to pay back, okay? So that's kind of the real life situation that we're looking at. So I'm just going to write down the side here. So you told me that the p-value is going to be 21,000, and you did right, okay? Right, now let's have a look at the next thing. If I said the interest rate, they tell you that the interest rate is what? What's the interest rate?
9%.
9% per year, compounded monthly. Okay, so what does that mean? What do you have to do to the interest rate when it says compounded monthly?
Means you have to pay for like monthly, every month.
Yes, so we have to work it out what it is per month. So if it's 9% per year, if I want to know what the interest rate is per month, it's telling you what to do. It's saying divide that interest rate by 12. Okay, so first, before we do anything else, if I work out 9%, I can write that as 9 divided by 100, which is 0.09. Happy with that? That makes sense? Okay, and then what I need to do with this is I then need to say, okay, take the 0.09. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, so take the 0.09 and you have to divide it by 12. Does that make sense? Okay, so why am I dividing by 12? Because it said that the interest rate has to be compounded monthly. So I don't know if you've seen some of these questions, like in the annuity question. If they say compounded half yearly, that means it happens twice a year, so I'd be dividing by 2. If it said compounded quarterly, what do you think we divide by?
4.
Exactly. Okay, so it's all the same stuff, the same kind of principles that you use in compound interest, simple interest, the whole tooth, it all kind of fills in together. The same symbols come up over and over and over again. Okay, so the interest rates, I'm going to substitute as being 0.09 divided by 12. And the last thing that we need to worry about is the N value. So they tell us that the N value, he wants to know how much he's going to pay off in 5 years. Okay, so if my interest rate is calculated per month, then my years I have to change into months as well. Okay, so how many months are there in 5 years? What do you think we have to do? 5. What do we have to do to the 5? How many months are there in 1 year?
It's 12 months.
12 months. How many in 2 years?
24.
All right. How many in 3 years? What are you doing? What are you taking? You're taking your years and you're multiplying it by 12. Is that right?
Yeah, 12.
Exactly. So when we take 5 years, then what we're going to do is we're going to say take the 5 and multiply it by 12. So easy kind of thing to remember. If you're taking your interest rate and you're dividing it by 12, then that must mean that when you do your years, you've got to times it by 12. It's easy to remember. One's divide, one's times. Okay. So the 5, I'm going to times it by 12, and that's going to give me 60. So now I've got all my little bits of information, and now I just need to plug it whack into the formula and get ready for your calculator. Okay, so have you got your calculator ready?
Yep.
Have you got your calculator with you?
Not yet. Okay, yeah, I got it.
You've got it?
Yep.
Okay, you're gonna have to watch. If you don't have your calculator with me, then you're just gonna have a look at what I do on the calculator on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna rewrite that again. So it was 21,000. That was our P. Our interest rate was 0.09 divided by 12. And our time period that we're working with was 5 times 12, which means we're dealing with 60 months. Let's just double check that. Yeah. Okay, so those 3 things I'm going to plug into my formula. So we've got 21,000 minus what am I doing? Try that again. So 21,000 times by 0.09 divided by 12. And then the denominator, the stuff at the bottom, is going to be okay, I'll get there. Let's have a look at that. Right. So at the bottom we've got 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12, and that's raised to the power of negative 60. Now just be careful, okay, because obviously the formula is given to you, but you just need to make sure. The first thing I want you to do is whenever you get a formula like that, rewrite the formula. So take whatever the formula is on your question paper and write it down on your answer script. That's the first thing I want you to do, okay? And then once we've got all our bits, then you're going to substitute it in. Because what do you get marks for? You sometimes get a mark just for copying down the formula correct. Okay, so make sure that you look at the formula carefully. Make sure that you don't make any mistakes with the negative n. So look at the formula very carefully and copy it directly onto your answer paper. And the second thing is you get a mark for all your substitutions. Okay, so putting in everything in its correct place according to where the symbols go. Okay. All right. Okay, now, on your calculator, you have to work out 21,000 times 0.09 divided by 12, all divided by this big whole long thing at the bottom. So what I need you to do is when you write that down, I want you to put an extra set of brackets around the bottom, okay? Because otherwise, your calculator is going to work out something completely different, and then you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, so when you have something big on the bottom, it's okay to put in extra brackets. It's not going to hurt you. So rather put in an extra bracket, otherwise you're not going to get the correct answer. Okay, so I'm going to put a nice big fat green bracket around that bottom, and we're going to go from there. Right. Now, the stuff that we need to do is obviously on the calculator. So on your calculator, let's just see if we can get that calculator. All right. On your calculator, have you got your calculator with you, Kamoto?
Yes, it is.
Okay, on your calculator, can you work out 21,000 times 0.09 divided by 12 and tell me what you get?
21,000.
Times 0.09, so 0.09 or 0.09. All right? And then I want you to divide it by 12 and tell me what you get so far.
157.5.
Perfect. Okay, now keep that on your calculator. Don't clear it. Press your division button. Okay, so now we're doing the bottom. So I'm saying divide. Okay?
Okay.
Right, now you're going to follow me. I'm going to point to the screen and you're going to punch in exactly as I point to it. You're going to punch it in your calculator. So, brackets.
Okay.
1 minus. Bracket.
Okay. Huh?
1 plus. 0.09 divided by 12. Close your bracket. Then you need to find your exponent button. Do you know what your exponent button looks like?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I see.
Press your exponent button.
Yeah.
And then you need to put in negative 60 as your exponent. And then close your bracket. Okay, did you get an answer? I hope it doesn't say math error. What have you got?
435.
Excellent. Okay, so that's perfect. That's the correct answer. Well done. Okay, that's a hectic, complicated calculation. So the fact that you got that answer is fantastic. So what have you got? You got 435.
0.92.
Right, so 0.925, etc., etc., etc. And because we're dealing with money, that's why we need to round off to 2 decimal places. Okay, so what's that 5 going to do to that 2?
You want to change it to 3.
Say again?
You want to change it to 3. Like
Excellent.
20.
Well done. Well done. That's perfect. Well done. That's brilliant. Excellent. That's fantastic. Okay, that's a serious question that you're going to get serious marks for if you get that right. Okay, so what does that mean? It means every single month, if he's going to borrow 21,000 Rand, he's going to have to pay back 435 Rand and 93 cents per month. Okay, for 5 years. All right. So the second part of this question just simply says to you, determine the total amounts of money that he has to pay to the bank by the end of the 5 years. So now if you, this guy, who's this guy's name? What's his name? If you're Kagiso, all right, and you have to pay 435 Rand and 93 Rand back to the bank every month for 5 years, how many payments are you making? How many payments are you making? So how many, it's 5 years, right? And every month. So how many months do we say that was? Can you remember?
60 months. 60 months.
60 months. So that means 60 payments, all right? So the total amount of money that you have to pay back is going to be this 435 Rand and 93 cents. And you're going to do it 60 times, okay? Because you're going to pay it every single month for 5 years, all right? And on your calculator, if you work out what 435.93 times 60 is, you got an answer for me. What have you got?
26155.
Yes.
0.8.
0.8. So that 0.8 means 80 cents. Okay? Don't forget to put your 0 in for money, because money has to have 2 decimal places. Right. So we borrowed 21,000 Rand. How much do we have to pay back? We had to pay back 26,000 Rand. Okay. So can you almost predict what the next question could be? So obviously there isn't another question here, but what could they ask you once you've worked that out? What kind of question do you think they could ask you after that? So that 26,000 Rand, that's how much money we had to pay in total, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much did we borrow? Can you remember? How much did we borrow? If I go back to
21,000.
correct. So a question they could ask, I'm just saying, you need to almost think about what the markers or what the examiner is going to ask you next. The next question that he could ask you to work out is how much interest you paid. So if you borrowed 21,000 Rand and you had to pay back 26,000 Rand, 26,155 and 80 cents, then the difference between the two would obviously be how much interest you have to pay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm saying the question wasn't there, but they could. Okay, so they could throw that question to you. It's one of those questions that follows on from what we've been doing. So I'm saying if you see it, then you can almost predict that the next question is going to be calculate how much interest you would have paid. All right. Okay, so I hope that we've kind of helped you a little bit. I know it wasn't exactly annuities and stuff, but as I said, if you can understand the symbols for this question, the P, the I, the X, etc., then you'll be fine when it comes to annuities. And then just don't forget when you work out your calculation, if you need to put in extra brackets, do so. Okay, rather put in extra brackets, otherwise you'll probably get a dodgy answer, and then you're going to be concerned about what you've done wrong or whatever the case may be. Okay.
Thanks, eh?
Excellent, great. Thanks very much for your question. It's an excellent question. Thank you very much for asking it.
Welcome back. Well, we've had a few requests about doing a Learning Outcome 3 question. In other words, a question to do with shape and measurement, all right? So what we've decided to do is tackle question 5 from your November 2009 paper. Now, unfortunately, we've got a little hiccup with our computer system, so I'm not going to be able to show you the question. I'm going to talk you through the question, and then we're going to do a bit of the working for it. Okay, and the question starts off, and it says we have a set of twins. The one's name is Ronwin, and the other one his name is Bronwyn. Now, if you call your daughters Ronwin and Bronwyn, then they must be twins, because that's really bizarre. I have a son, and his name is David John. But he's only one guy, but he's as good as two. That's why we gave him 2 names. So it's David John, but we're not talking about him right now. We're going to talk about Ronwin and Bronwyn. Okay, so Ronwin and Bronwyn are celebrating their 21st birthday. And on their 21st birthday, like any other birthday, you've got to have a birthday cake. Now, although Ronwin and Bronwyn are twins, Ronwin has got a totally different cake in mind compared to Bronwyn. Ronwin wants a round circular cake. Bronwyn also wants a round circular cake, but with a hole in the middle of it. So let's have a look at our diagram, and hopefully you'll understand what we're getting at. Here's Ronwyn with her round circular cake, And then there's Bronwyn here. It's a round circular cake, but with like a hole in the middle. And we tend to call this a ring cake. Okay. Now, a few facts given about our cake. First of all, Bronwyn's cake has a diameter of 50 centimeters and a height of 15 centimeters. Bronwyn's cake, the outer diameter is 56 centimeters. The inner diameter is 18 centimeters. And her cake isn't quite as high as her sister's. Bronwyn's cake is only 14 centimeters high. Okay, now, our first question stated this. Using the volume of each cake, determine which of the two cakes are better value for money if the cakes cost the same. So Bronwyn and Bronwyn's cake cost exactly the same amount of money, okay? But we want to say, well, which is better value for money? In other words, how much volume cake are we getting in each one of these cakes? So let's have a look at it. Now, you can't see this, but in the actual question paper, what happens is we get given the formula for volume, okay? And I'm going to write down what that is here. We told that the volume of a cylinder is equal to pi times r squared times the height. Now, before this session, I mentioned to our viewers this, that if you get given a formula, folks, and it's in your exam paper, the chances are you're going to use that formula. In fact, forget the word chance. You are going to use that formula. So in this question, we're given the formula for volume. We're told volume for a circle is pi times r squared times the height. So let's have a look here. So we know our pi, incidentally, we're told that pi, we've got to use 3,14. So we can't push pi on the calculator. If we look at our calculator here, we can actually see that we have the figure pi. If I push shift pi, I get pi on my calculator. Now, the reason why the examiners actually say, hey, don't do that, use 3,14, is because there are a lot of you folk out there that don't have such a complicated calculator. We just have a basic one. So we are going to presume that nobody has a very fancy calculator, that we all have a good old common calculator, and so what we're going to say is forget using pi, use 3,14, and that's the reason we do that. Okay, so let's have a look at that. We've got 3,14 times r squared. Now this is paper 2, folk. Paper 2, they try and trick you. Paper 1, they would have told you the radius of the cake is so much. Here we don't do that. Here we're giving you the diameter of the cake. So we're saying to you the diameter is 50 centimeters. We want the radius. Now what's the radius? Well, if my diameter, and we know what a diameter is the length from the one side of the cake through to the other side. The radius, on the other hand, is from my center to the circumference. Okay? So now what we're actually doing is saying this. My radius is always half the diameter. So for this question, if I'm telling you the diameter is 50, I know the radius is going to be 25. Okay. And we are squaring it times the height. Okay. And what is my height? 15. Absolutely. Okay. And now we're going to use our calculator and solve that. All right. Now, I want you to listen very carefully again, because again, this is one of those silly mistakes that everybody makes. When it says r squared, so many people write 3.14 times 25, forget to square it, and then just times the 15 again. Okay? So let's not forget to square. So let's have a look. We are going to say, I have 3.14 multiplied by 25 squared. So it's times 25 squared times 15. Okay? Equals, and we land up then with an answer of 29,430, what was it? 37, okay, comma 5. Now I'm doing what you people do in the exam, and we always tell you never do that. So let me just correct that straight away. Okay, so it's 29,437,5 what? Centimeters cubed, because we're finding the volume. Okay, and volume is always cubed. Area is always squared. Okay, so we found the volume of the one cake. Now, let's find the volume of this cake over here. So what are we going to do? Well, there are two things we can do. We can find the volume of the outer cake, find the volume of the little hole, and subtract the one from the other. Or we can use the formula that's given to you in the question paper. And like I said, and I apologize again, we can't get that formula for you on the screen because our computer's just done something weird. I think it's in such shock that Western Province managed to score a try against Natal that the whole computer system has gone wrong. Nevertheless, Natal's still winning. But we digress, so let's get back to here. The formula given in the question paper is this. Volume is pi times the radius of the big circle minus the radius of the little circle times my height. Okay, so we've got 3,14 multiplied by, what is the radius of the big circle? Well, we know the diameter is 56, so what's the radius? 28. Okay, great. Minus the radius of the little circle. The diameter is 18. Nice, 9. Okay, brilliant. Times my perpendicular height, which is going to be 14. That doesn't change at all. So we slap that all in our question, but before we do that, I've already made a mistake. I've made a horrific mistake. The exact mistake I told you you must never make. And that's this. Let's have a look. What did I say? R squared. What have I put here? Just 28. Forgot to put the squared. Forgot to put the squared. How horrific is that? So now when I slap that all into my calculator, I'm going to get an answer of 30,903,88 centimeters cubed. Okay. Now the question was, who has the better value for money? Okay. Well, we're paying the same for our cakes. The one cake, we're getting 29,000 centimeters cubed worth of cake. The other one, we're getting 30,000. I would say most definitely Bronwyn's cake is getting us better value for money. So even though it has a huge hole in the middle, the diameter is bigger, and because of that, we're getting more cake for our money. Okay, are we clear?
Yes.
Right, great. Let's have a look at the next question. The next question says, okay, now we want to put icing over this cake. So we're going to ice the top of the cake, and we're going to ice around the side of the cake. We're not putting icing underneath the cake. That's just stupid. No one's going to see that, okay? So icing on top, icing around the edge. Now, your examiner last year, again, heck of a nice guy. Why? Because he actually gave you the formula. And the formula that was given, he said the surface area, and let's look at the screen. The surface area of that cake, for icing that cake, is pi times the radius squared plus 2 times pi times r times the height. Okay? What are we doing? We're trying to find the cost or the amount of icing that's required to ice the outside of which cake? The round cake. Not the one with the hole in the middle. If we look here, we're not worrying about this guy here. We're worrying about Ronwyn's cake. So looking at Ronwyn's cake then, we're saying pi times, what's the radius of that cake? 25. Nice. Plus 2 times pi. Instead of pi, what can we use? 3,14. Agreed? Okay, so I'm going to say here 3,14 as well. Times, my radius again is 25, and my height is, do you remember how high our cake was? 15, absolutely. Times 15. Okay. Now, when we do that on our calculator, and we're going to be breaking for a break shortly, so I'm not going to do it on the calculator. I actually cheated. I did it on the calculator before we came on here. So what we got here for an answer for this part, I got an answer of 1,962,5 centimeters, but we're finding the area of the cake, hey? And because we're finding the area, what's my unit? Cubed or squared? Squared, eh? Okay, plus, then this part over here, I got an answer of 2,355 centimeters squared. Okay, now when we add that all up, we get 4,317,5 centimeters squared. Okay, and that was our question on learning outcome number 3, okay, with shape and measurement. So we go through it again. We got 2 cakes, but they're slightly different in shape. We had to find the volume of both. Again, formulas given, so there's no major, oh my word, what am I going to do? No need to panic, no jumping out a window. We're just going to sit back, relax, use those formulas, and just slot in the right values. Few things to remember. First of all, remember R squared. Square your radius. Second thing to remember, the examiners are going to try and trick you. They're going to give you the diameter and you've got to use the radius. So watch out for that. Don't put diameters into your formula when they want the radius. And the third thing to watch out for are the units. Okay? If it's centimeters squared or centimeters cubed, okay? Volume cubed, area squared. All right. Well, I trust we've answered your questions. And again, we're going to take a short break, and I'm just going to catch up on the rugby score in the meantime. We'll chat later. Thank you.
Thank you.
time just for one more question. We've had so many calls, and we appreciate all your calls. It's just not possible to get to every single one of them. So please, if we haven't answered your question, make sure that you keep calling and so that we can try and get your question at some point in time. Otherwise, somebody will phone you and let you know what your answer was if you're not sure what the question was. Okay, so I'm going to take just 10 minutes. We're going to look at one more question, similar to the one that I was doing just now with a really dodgy formula where you've got to plug a whole bunch of things in, punch in your calculator and get an answer. So we're just going to look at one more, and then, as I said, then we're going to call it a day. So the question that I'm going to have a look at, this comes from the last year's November paper, paper 2, and it has, I'll give you kind of a quick introduction. The question talks about the Royal Bafokeng Stadium, so the whole theme of the Soccer World Cup. Talks about a guy who wants to buy tickets, and then basically what he wants to do is he wants to prepare in advance how much he's going to have to pay every single month in order to have the amount of money that he needs at the time when the tickets have become available. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little summarized version and then we'll jump into the question. So it says, Mr. Biapi would like to attend all the 2010 Soccer World Cup matches scheduled to be played at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium. He decides that he wants to purchase Category 1 tickets for all these matches. Okay, so for those of you who've got your paper with you, if you go over and look at the Category 1 tickets, that's a dude who's got serious amounts of ammo. Okay, so he's got a serious amount of money that he's going to be spending on these tickets. And the question 3.2.1 asks you to calculate the total cost of his tickets. Now, I haven't got the table with me, but I have calculated it for you. And if he goes to every single match, the quarterfinal, the semi-final, the whole toots, he's going to come up with 20,000. He's going to need 20,370 Rand. Okay, so keep that. I'll make a note of that in a minute, but just keep that in mind when I do this next question. So, what's the story? It says, Mr. Biapi wants to purchase his tickets on the 1st of January 2010. He started saving for the tickets on 1st of November 2008. Okay, so a good full year ahead of when the tickets became available. And he decided to deposit an equal amount at the beginning of each month into a special target save account at an interest rate of 7% per annum, compounded monthly. And then they give you a long formula. They tell you about each of the symbols. Hopefully you kind of recognize the symbols by now. And then question A starts to tuck into the how we're going to work this stuff out. So I mentioned to you before that I've calculated how much this is going to cost him, and the total cost that he's going to need to bank on is he needs 20,370 Rand for all his tickets. Okay? Right, question 1, part A says, calculate the percentage monthly interest rates rounded off to 2 decimal places. Now, this is, as what they're doing here is they're breaking down each of the little bits that we need to plug into our formula as little kind of mini part questions. All right. So the percentage monthly rate. Why is it monthly? Because they told you that the interest is compounded monthly. Right. So 7%. So 7% we can write as being 7 over 100, and that's going to give us 0.07. And then because it's compounded monthly, we're going to need to have to take that amount and we're going to have to divide it by 12. Okay, now the reason why I want you to do this on your calculator is some of you are going to get a dodgy answer, okay? And the answer that you might get is something that looks like 5,83, etc., ... times 10 to the power of -3. Now the question says that you need to write that as 2 decimal places. So if you've got to change the mode of your calculator, and we don't want to go there just before you write your exam, or you can change this from scientific notation into a decimal. So this 3 over here, this -3, means I've got to move the comma 3 places. So if I move the comma 3 places, 1, 2, 3, basically this comes out to be 0,00583, etc. Okay, now, it's ugly, it's not a nice number, and we still have to round it off. The point of the matter is, if you don't understand how this works, at least what you can do is take that interest rate in the next question and plug it as it is. 0.07 divided by 12, plug it into your calculator, and you'll get the correct answer. Just quickly rounding off then. So 0.0, it's asked you for 2 decimal places. So this 5 is going to make that 0.01, and that'll be the interest rate I'm dealing with. Now let's go to the formula. Same symbols as what we were dealing with last time. We need to figure out our monthly payments. So if I just quickly have a look at what the question said, it said that he started saving on the 1st of November and he's going to pay for the stuff on the 1st of January. So 1st of November, November, December, that's 2008, plus a full year, that's another 12 months in 2009, and then he's ready on the 1st of January to pay. So in total, the number of months that he's going to be dealing with is going to be how many? 14. 2 plus 12 gives us 14. Okay, so plugging all this stuff into your formula. All right, so the formula, I'm just going to rewrite it for you. and then get ready to get your calculators so that we can try and make sure that we can plug this stuff and get the answer that we have to get. Right. Okay, total amount of money that he needs. I told you that he needed 20,370 Rand for all his tickets. The interest rate, you can either plug in this 0.01, or if you plug in your calculator 0.07 divided by 12, that was what we calculated earlier, so 7% per annum compounded monthly. And then the denominator is going to be 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12. And I'm writing 14 as my N. And the reason why is because we said, remember that there are 14 months, that's what he's been saving for. Since the 1st of November, all the way through to the 1st of January, that's what he's been saving for. Okay, now, plug this into your calculator. Whew. All right. It says the following. We're going to have to work out 20,370 times 0.07 divided by 12. Now, personal preference, I always kind of push equals in between. Otherwise, as I said, I just want to make sure that I've got the answer for the numerator before I even tackle the denominator. Okay? And then the denominator, we say divide by bracket, bracket. Please make sure that you put both brackets in. Otherwise, either you're going to get an error on your calculator or it's not going to give you the correct answer. Okay? So 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12. So I'm plugging it in. As I'm reading it, I'm plugging it into the formula. And then that's going to be to the power of 14. Press my arrow button to make sure that I go across, -1, close brackets, and that's our answer. So 1,400 Rand, and how many cents was that? And 63 cents. In other words, if this guy wants to have 20,370 Rand on the 1st of January, if he was looking to buy those tickets, he would have had to start investing 1,400 Rand every single month for the next 14 months. And when the day came for him to buy his tickets, get extremely excited, get the money out of his account, go purchase his tickets and have a fantastic time at the football. Okay, so just a couple of things to remember. Remember to read your question, and whenever it says compounded monthly, we spoke about that, we had to then divide by 12. Now, in the previous question, I said to you, if they give your time period in years, you need to make sure that you take your years and you convert it to months. This one, we didn't need to do that. Why? Because we actually physically counted how many months he's going to be saving for. So I didn't have to divide by 12 at any point in time or multiply by 12 for that situation. Okay, so just be careful that you read the question to make sure that you don't do anything odd or bizarre. And then the last thing I just want to mention to you, make sure that you write the formula down for a start, okay? Mark it a mark for it. Substitute the values in that you think where they belong. And the last thing is make sure that you use your extra brackets on your denominator in order to make sure you get the correct answer. If you get a dodgy answer, go back, look at your calculation, check that you've put the brackets where they need to be, and then I'm sure you'll be fine. All right. I hope that we've answered some of your questions today. Good luck for the rest of your studying. I'm sure you're going to do fantastic. Don't panic. Okay, it's only a math literacy paper. You're going to do fantastic. You're really going to be great. Okay, so good luck to all your matrics out there. Good luck to the guys writing maths as well. And to the IEB guys, obviously good luck to you for the next few weeks because you're not writing on Monday. But we hope that you do well as well.